Welcome to Mountaineer Farm Talk. My name is J.J. Barrett, and I'm the Extension Agent in Wood County. And today we also have our guest host, Evan Wilson, down in Cabell, Wayne. What's up, Evan?
Going pretty good down here. A little dreary day here, but we can always use a little bit more rain. Just wish we had it back in July instead of now.
Evan's down there in the choir room.
Yep, down here singing to the birds.
And then, of course, we have Brandy Brabham, or maybe I should say Dr. Brabham, over in Roane County. How are you today, Brandy?
You're really stretching that degree program. I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here and happy it's finally Friday.
Yes, that's for sure. Just around the state, we have been very lucky, at least in our area here in the Mid-Ohio Valley. Haven't had a really hard frost yet, but I think that the growing season is going to come to an end next week. We're going to have some temperatures down near freezing, I think 31 Monday or Tuesday. So, but it is that time of year around October 15th to 20th is usually our date that it frosts in our area. So, like I said, Mountaineer Farm Talk is a weekly podcast featuring interviews with extension professionals and other agriculture experts about timely topics important to West Virginia agriculture. Our mission is simple: to provide educational, research-based information to people all across the Mountain State. And today we're going to be talking about women in agriculture. And we have as our special guest, Emily Morrow. Emily, how are you doing?
I'm good, JJ. Get a little rain over here this way this morning too.
Yes, we have Stacy Huffman. Stacy?
Hi.
How are you doing?
I did not realize until about a minute ago that my camera was still on and I'm like eating breakfast as I go. So my bad. Sorry. Good morning.
Yeah, and of course, Brandy is also on the Women in Ag team. Just before the program started, Emily and I were talking about Women in Ag and Annie's project, which I thought were kind of the same thing. But I know that the Annie's project is, of course, the 6-week training course that we have. So, but I'll let you guys talk about that. Why don't we start in that the Women in Ag program? How did that to get started here in West Virginia? Who wants to start for me? Stacy?
Okay, so the Women in Ag, I should probably be a little bit more prepared for this. The Women in Ag, well, let's start out with just the Annie's project. So it started out with Annie's project, which is, if you've never heard of Annie's, it is the fundamental core values of what women in agriculture represent. So we started the Annie's project here in West Virginia 9 years ago. That's a total guess. Was it about 9 or 10 years ago?
Yeah, since 2012. Yes.
There we go. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
There
so
you
the
go, Brandy.
Annie's program, and what that is that's a 6-week course. And that course was geared to just provide educational opportunities for folks. I mean, obviously we're targeting women, but anybody is welcome to come. It's overall good farm training, anything to do with record keeping, farm management. I mean, Annie's program is like probably one of the better programs I've ever seen Extension do. And so what we did with the Annie's program is that kind of morphed into West Virginia Women in Agriculture. We saw what a good, valuable training program that Annie's program was, and what our women were gaining from it. So as a group, we were looking at this and we're like, hey, throughout the counties in West Virginia, we've had these Annie's projects. They've been very successful. Why not start a yearly conference for a way for all these folks who have been taking this class to get together? And then of course we expanded outside of folks who have been taking the class and just anybody who wants to come to this conference. And it's been wonderful. It's been wonderful training. You get regular old farmers, but then you get women in agriculture. And I think no offense, guys, I think they take it to a next step. So it's been really nice training with these ladies, and we're excited about this year's conference.
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually, Annie's project started out in Iowa, and I think that just bringing it here, we originally started with focus groups to see how we could tweak it for West Virginia producers, and that was really the kickstart what Stacy was talking about with Annie's project in West Virginia. After we found that they needed those risk management, educational components, we really had a wonderful time working those out in a statewide program that included local experts. So this conference is the culmination of that, and just trying to get those folks together, I think is really valuable, the networking alone. Don't you agree?
Totally.
yeah. Brandy, let me follow up with you. Go ahead. I know that you've had several of these conferences for the women in agriculture. Give us the dates for this year's, maybe your main keynote speaker, and of course, maybe you can explain some of the challenges. This year's is virtual. Tell us about the conference this year.
Well, the conference kicks off on Monday, November the 8th, and then it goes through Wednesday, November the 10th. And we start out a little early on Monday afternoon because we're going to do our typical pre-conference tours. However, of course, those will be virtual, and that happens from 3 to 5 p.m. And then we have our keynote speaker, which is an excellent speaker, Charlotte Smith of 3 Cow Marketing, kicking us off from 6 to 7:30 p.m. And then our first session, which will involve finance and marketing, from 7:30 to 8:15 on Monday. So we've got a really full schedule on Monday, and then we follow that up on Tuesday evening from 6 to 8 p.m. 8:15 with livestock, 2 sessions on livestock and forages, and then another session on finance and marketing. And then the final night, Wednesday night, we have our focus is on horticulture, and then we have our closing comments. We go from 6 to 9 that evening with our closing comments, the last 40 minutes of the conference. It's been, and I really would like to defer to Emily because I know she can point out a lot of the challenges, but I mean, there's lots of opportunities in changing from an in-person conference to a virtual conference. I really feel that we're able to reach more people this way in the virtual format. I do personally, I hate to see the lack of the networking that goes on, and just I miss seeing the people that we've seen year after year in person and checking in on them. So Emily, you want to talk more about some of the challenges and how we arrived at, we were definitely going to have to go to the virtual format that we have this year.
Yeah, so for some background, a traditional conference is we kick off around lunchtime on Friday with pre-conference tours. So folks have the option to attend the whole conference, which is a half day Friday, full day Saturday. They can attend just Friday. They can attend all day Saturday for the educational sessions. So we divide folks out between livestock and horticulture. They choose one or the other, and then they usually visit about 3 or 4 operations locally. We try to rotate the conference around the state year to year. And had plans to go down to Glade Springs at the southern part of the state. That's again postponed until next year. And then Saturday is all the educational sessions. So when we made the difficult switch to go virtual, just not being able to predict the rise in cases, if it would be safe to gather folks together in a setting like that, and all the other limitations that might come with it. We elected to change the format of the conference a little bit. So on Saturday, we usually have 4 different tracks, which is usually a combination of extension specialists, experts in that field, and local producers that are talking on either livestock, horticulture, finance and marketing. And then our 4th session has changed from year to year. The last time we had an in-person conference, we did it on succession planning, but in the past we've divided out the marketing aspect. We've done it geared towards youth. So that's always been a little bit of a fluctuation. So we decided not really to do concurrent sessions. We wanted everybody to be together for the whole conference. So maybe we can facilitate that networking a little bit more. So we unfortunately did have to cut some of the speakers we had lined up. but we elected to keep most of the finance, horticulture, and livestock. Those are the most heavily attended, and those ones from all of our survey results kind of demonstrate people get the most information out of it that they're going to take back to the farm and use. So that was a hard call. We had some intense discussions on if we were going to do it during the workday, if we were going to do it on a Saturday. And we ultimately just decided to do the evenings just so we can maybe target those people. It's getting darker earlier. People might be able to sit down with their dinner and tune into the conference, and just hoping we can reach them in any way we can, even though it's not in our traditional format. And I should mention the cost for the conference is $30. And that gives you access to the recordings too. And then we're still under 100 registrations. So if we pick up any other registrations before we get to that number, those ladies will get a free t-shirt picked up at their local county extension office.
And if you don't mind me putting something in there too, Emily, we talked about some of the challenges. I mean, nobody likes to do virtual stuff when you could rather be in person, right? I mean, it's fun to be in person. But the tour thing, I think, is a really big opportunity, because when you're at a resort, when you're at a location, of course, when you're scheduling tours and you're trying to combine all them vans and figure out, where are the farms within that little bit of radius that we can get to and still get people fed that evening, it really limits things. But I think the farm tours are really exciting. I mean, it's all exciting, but I think the farm tours is something really cool that we can provide a really neat opportunity to our folks. No travel required.
Yeah. Although sometimes that's the fun part, is getting into the van.
That's true.
That's always my favorite part of the conference, is the kind of peer-to-peer you get from being out in the field. And I will say, I think we've done a good job trying to bring that into Saturday session by getting local producers to be the ones to speak on their operations and what they're doing uniquely. Women, I think, these ladies will agree, we learn a lot better from experience, from hearing someone else say, well, I can do it, so you can do it too, and show me, and I can take it back to the farm. So I think that's another unique part of what we're trying to achieve when we're targeting our fellow women in agriculture.
I think what on Sunday, or Monday, this virtual conference, we're actually trying to add that element. We're having those folks available, correct?
Yes.
That we're touring the virtual tours, so that we can have that interaction with the producers that have done it, and let the participants of the conference ask those questions to those producers that they would typically be on the farm seeing it, but are watching the video of their farm. So I think that's going to be really an encouraging part of the conference this year, to get some of that networking that I'm really craving and missing from our in-person aspect.
Brandy, as a follow-up for the Women in Ag, or the Annie's Project, what do we think are some of the impacts that that's had across West Virginia? You've been doing this program since 2012. Maybe I'll get into a little bit more of the logistics of the actual training, but maybe a few stories or some impacts of how this program has affected some of our women across West Virginia.
And I will say that we've had several men that come to the conference, and also have participated in the local Annie's Project. So it's not exclusively for women. We target women because typically they don't come out and attend our traditional agriculture and natural resources programs for producers. So this was a way to encourage that interaction. So, but we've had a lot of impacts. We've actually did a lot of studies, research on the outcomes from not only Annie's Project, but our annual Women in Ag conference. And a lot of those are just adding an enterprise, starting a new operation and being successful at it. And somebody that attended maybe in 2014 now come to the conference in 2021 and share their successes to encourage other people. So I'm going to have to ask Emily and Stacy with some specific stories as well.
Yeah. So off of that, Brandy, and so personally in my county, in Mineral County, we've had a couple folks, I mean, we have big impacts, you know, people learn stuff. That's always good, right? You learn stuff and we hope that they're applying it. But, you know, some of the bigger cool stories for me is, I have a producer here. She raises meat goats. She did women in agriculture. She did the Annie's Project first, and then she started coming to Women in Ag or to the conference. And she started making some adjustments to her farm. And I know that sounds small, right? But until you see somebody else do it, or until you put those numbers on paper, a lot of times you're not going to make a change. And so she's told me that, you know, and I've been to her farm, she's made some management changes as well as some, you know, financial changes on how she handles selling of those goats. And that has made a huge impact for her farm. You know, also another story is I had a small hobby farmer. She did Women in Agriculture, Annie's Project, went to the conference, and now she's one of our bigger sellers, like our biggest sellers for Farm to School. And 6 years ago, Jinx would tell you that she'd never even dream of doing that. But because she, you know, she did Women in Agriculture, she keeps all of her records. She can tell you, hey, look, I'm doing this, I'm making money, and I'm loving it. So that was because she went through the program. She had fellow, you know, Mineral County folks with her, it makes you feel stronger when you have buddies in the system and you're going through the program with somebody and you see, hey, like Brandy said, that person did it, I can do it too. And so for me, those two ladies in my county are just a few of the examples of impacts, like changing lives, not just, yeah, you switched up how you grazed your animals, but you really changed the impacts of your family.
Yeah, I would agree with that in the fact that, you know, I've seen a lot of changes in management and production practices. It's like, not only are they learning from other people, with that record keeping, they're able to make decisions that, you know, can increase the profitability on their farm, or maybe they eliminate a enterprise that just isn't working for them. And I think that's, you know, when you see that is coming out of an extension program, you know that you've got a successful a successful recipe for producers to learn from. So that's why I'm, you know, very proud of the team's work over the last, you know, we're almost at 10 years now. And I think it's been a positive impact, not only on the producers that we work with, but on our team in extension and the partnerships. That was another thing I thought about. Partnerships and collaborations. You know, you see these Annie's Project participants, and what Stacy said, for example, that dairy goat producer, she might start producing the milk, and then somebody in the class will you know, buy the milk off of her and then start making cheese from that, and seeing those. Or maybe it's a vegetable producer that gets with a meat producer, and then they make a CSA out of it. I've just seen so many success stories over the years. And Emily, you might have some specifically up in your Eastern Panhandle that you'd like to highlight as well. So I'll let you
Yeah,
share.
I know that I've had more than one producer that's gone through either one aspect of the Women in Ag program. Either they've attended Annie's Project on the local level, or if they've traveled to the statewide conference. The financial impact's really what I think drives it home for my folks up here. I've had some say that they've never even thought about keeping records by enterprise, and these are farms that are 30 years old and they've inherited them from a parent and never even thought to keep track of the green beans separate from the meat portion. Everything just gets thrown together, and then at the end of the year it all goes on the Schedule F, and then you get ready for the next year. So I know that those differences have made a huge financial impact, especially in those management choices on, you know, what's profitable, what's not profitable, what's a loss leader. You know, if everybody comes and buys a dozen eggs, they're making other purchases too. So at least having a better picture and understanding of how their farm operates helps them manage it better too. I think that's a big takeaway that all of our Women in Ag programs center on. We talk about risk management, and women tend to be the ones that are managing the records or the insurance or all of those paperwork aspects, in addition to being out in the field and doing the labor as well. And that's a major component of the conference is just building up those skills so it benefits the whole farm, no matter who's operating it and who's on it.
Yeah, maybe wanted to dive into the Annie's project, the actual classes. I'm looking here, there's usually 6. A lot of them geared towards financial management, farm management, risk assessment, financial statements, creating a business plan, and of course, networking with farmers. Brandy, maybe discuss a little bit how the classes work. Are there going to be some signups this year, or some classes that are available? Are they in person, or are they still all going to be online?
Brandy, you're muted.
I'm sorry. And I also have an unstable connection. So if I freeze up, please take over, one of you. Yeah, like JJ said, it is broken down into 6 sessions typically, and those could be in a weekly consecutive or take a week in between. We've done it a few different ways where we actually do assignments, homework, so that the producers have time to complete those homework assignments and then get back to us. With COVID-19 impacting all of our programming last year, we did a monthly check-in, and we did the online course. So we had that networking aspect with our producers via the Zoom topics, and we also highlighted a West Virginia producer to talk about their operation. So we've done it several different ways with Annie's project, and it does cover the 5 areas of risk management. So it's financial, production, marketing, legal, and human resources are the 5 areas of risk that we try to target with Annie's project. And throughout that course, there's a real sense of camaraderie that develops. And we have we finished up that last round of Annie's this past spring, and we really haven't set a date for the new round. I think we were waiting to see how the COVID numbers were going to shake out to look at whether we would do some online and in person, or just strictly online. But we have that curriculum, we have that ready, so why not offer that? So it'll probably be coming out in 2022 for our next round. Emily,
we
do
do
you
try
have any?
to coordinate that on like a state level. So if we're
Mhm.
doing in-person classes, I might host a session in my 3-county region of the Eastern Panhandle, and Stacy might do some in the more of the Potomac Highlands. So we try to keep it so we can get women together in the same classroom. They don't have to travel a long distance. But like Brandy mentioned, we did it all online, and just trying to facilitate that networking. But really, we're all done all these virtual programs for a while. There's not a great substitution for in person. So I know I would be very eager to have people back in the classroom again if we can.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Emily, how many typically how many students do you have that sign up for when you have a Annie's project, the 6-week program?
It does vary on location. Like with all of our programs, we know our demographic is different. So some of us might have better luck getting people in the classroom. I've held a site once. I think when we had the online course, I had about 4 or 5 producers do that on the state level. When I've had in person, I've been with Extension 5 years, so I've done the in-person once. I had about 10 or 12 producers, and that's a good size class to facilitate discussion. Everybody has a chance to get their voice heard, and then you can kind of feed off of each other too.
Yeah, I agree. Like the national curriculum that Annie's project was developed from in West Virginia, it is 12 to 15 is ideal because that really gives everyone time to talk. But we have stretched those limits before and try not to go any less than 10 in a regional area, because there's a benefit to extending that recruitment to get at least that many in the classroom.
Yeah, Brandy, so the West Virginia, the Women in Agriculture, is kind of based on a national program that's been around for a while. Annie's project, maybe talk about that a minute. Oh, she's muted. Maybe Emily.
I think Brandy or Stacy could probably give better background on how it started in West Virginia. They were with Extension at that time.
Well, on the national level, Annie's project was developed in Iowa, and it's based off of farm record a farm lady named Annie. And if they actually have a Annie's project website. There's a national team. They meet on a monthly basis with all the state coordinators to kind of keep us up to date on any curriculum changes. We try to do a part 1 and part 2 of Annie's project to give those producers that have graduated from the 6-week session to focus more on record keeping and just dig deeper. But basically, this lady was a farm wife whose husband took care of most of the farm, and then once he had died unexpectedly, she faced a lot of challenges on trying to keep the 3 generations under one roof and the farm business. So she had to make some really tough decisions, and she started really digging in and looking at her records and management decisions and her cash flow, and that really led to the inspiration of Annie's project, with Extension folks helping her kind of dig through that and realizing that in a traditional farm setting, it might be the male as the primary operator and the wife as the record keeping, and how important it was for Extension to support the female operators. And there's also the cases where there's not a husband-wife team. It might just be a single female producer, and that we just didn't really have a lot of farm-based management programs targeted at females.
Right. Excuse me. Right. I think maybe any of you could follow up with this. As far as record keeping, I guess on the farm, we tend to look at the production side as far as field work, marketing, and we don't. The tough part of the business, and maybe the most important, is record keeping and financial management, as far as especially looking at different enterprises that may not be that profitable. Have you found that after some of your students really took a look at their records, that maybe they had some farm enterprises that were losing money or not as profitable as others, and that way they could kind of focus on the ones that's really making money? Anybody you want to tackle that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that happens way more than we even realize it happens. I mean, people report it. So if you are the person in charge of making sure your farm is making money, which we can show you statistically, that usually the women in agriculture are the ones doing that. So you can go out and you can do all the great farming in the world. You can grow all the great vegetables. You can raise all the great livestock. But if you don't have it on paper, like, look, this particular, like she was saying, green beans, separate those out. Are green beans sucking more time and more fuel and more whatever, than what they're worth? What are we making out of them compared to what we put into them? So I think, there's a lot of folks making big decisions and making some small changes, even small changes that make a big difference. So thank you. I was talking about our meat goat producer, and she made a few changes on how and when she sells her animals. And the when as she sells her animals, the time frame there, a small change made a big difference for her financially. And so, she didn't really realize that until she put the pencil to the paper and really started to have to keep those records. And when you start calculating out, if I make this one change, if I cut back on green beans and don't sell any green beans, but tomatoes are where my business is at, and you can show somebody, hey, this is where. And it also empowers those ladies too. Like, let's say they're in a typical West Virginia farm family, and you've got a husband-wife kind of duo, and you've got one of them saying, honey, I don't think we should do this anymore. I don't think we should keep those 10 cows, and here's why. And you take that piece of paper and you show them on paper, this is why, because it's costing us more money than what it's worth. Let's make that decision. I think that's the power of it, is being able to make decisions confidently.
Stacy also touched on something really important that we always try to drive home, is your time. You might have an enterprise that doesn't yield a lot of money, but it also doesn't take you a lot of time. So compared to something that might yield you more money, but your cost per hour that you use to grow those very labor intensive crops like tomatoes, as another example for a producer, might not be worth it in the long scheme of things, if you actually look at like how many hours you're spending versus how much money you're yielding from it, and kind of making those decisions on that side too.
And I really think that the value of it is getting our producers to think of their farm, their family operation as a business. And that's something we really strive to do in Extension, is getting them in that business mindset and thinking of the human resources aspects. Do we have insurance? Do we have the right liability coverage if we're doing some kind of operation that involves bringing people on the farm? Or, are we selling crops? Do we have those crops protected with some product liability? Looking at, and this is a biggie that we're, getting into more and more as we know the West Virginia farm population gets older and older, is that human resources involves like having those family discussions about transitioning the farm. A lot of times it's a generational thing. A mother-daughter might be farming together, a father-son might be farming together, and then you've got the wives and the sister-in-laws and brother-in-laws, and how to have those honest conversations that, how are we going to keep this farm profitable into the future? What is our transition plan? And, estate planning, those sensitive topics that maybe families wouldn't bring up on their own, but if they have this outlet where they come to our conference and go to a session, it starts that conversation. It continues that conversation with their local extension agent after the conference is over, after Annie's project. And we're trying to build more and more of that transition planning. As we know, that's something that is a needed component to all West Virginia farm families, and a difficult one to have without some expertise and support along the way.
I always like the saying, especially in farm transition planning, what's fair is not always equal, especially if you have two kids, one's on the farm, one's not, making sure the one that's not on the farm might have gotten a car or a college education or a nice wedding, but the one on the farm wants the land and the equipment and all those things. And so that's sometimes a hard conversation to have.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I know we have some guests on here today. I was wondering if we had any questions from our listeners. Between Lisa Maxey and Ryan Snyder.
Yeah, going back to the conference, the Charlotte Smith, you said, is your keynote speaker with can you give us a little bit of background information, maybe build up a little bit of enthusiasm for, I'm assuming that this lady's out of state, or tell us a bit about.
Yeah, she's located on the West Coast, and what's kind of unique about her was she was going to be a virtual keynote anyway, because she's located so far away. And she does some courses related to marketing agriculture products. She has a newsletter that's pretty widely circulated on marketing tips. So we're really excited for her to bring her expertise to us as well. So it was really unique that the fact that she was already going to be virtual, that was no shift for her. Just the time of day was the change to be able to offer that keynote, which is always a really valuable part of the conference that kind of gets everybody energized and sets the tone for the rest of the sessions.
And she, what is the name of her business?
3 Cow Marketing. And Stacy just popped the link in the chat to her website. Some of her courses she does, I know are free of charge, like little self-paced, I think, online modules on agriculture marketing your products.
And she has a really popular podcast too, Profitable Mindset. That's her podcast, and she was named like one of the 25 most influential women in the world for food and agriculture in 2016, which is a huge deal. So I think we're very fortunate to have a speaker with Charlotte's expertise, to come and speak with the producers in West Virginia and the surrounding states. Let's not forget that this conference, being virtual, makes it very easy for our neighbors over in Ohio, Tennessee, or even in the West Coast to join us and listen in. So we're encouraging our colleagues in Extension, our USDA collaborators, and Farm Credit, one of our sponsors, to help us market this conference to reach further than the borders of West Virginia.
Yeah, I think that is one of the, although I usually like to attend a conference in person myself, but having a virtual speaker, especially someone that's over in California, that would be quite a long either a flight or a drive out here to the East Coast. So that's definitely an advantage for some of our virtual programs, that we can bring in people basically from all over the world speak. However, if we have I'm assuming that one of the highlights of the Women in Ag Conference is usually the banquet, trying to get locally sourced food and so forth. But I guess that won't happen this year.
Well, what's more locally sourced than in your own kitchen while you're watching the conference? You know what I mean, JJ? If you can get some, maybe we should challenge everybody that as you're eating, as you're watching the conference, that you locally source your food as much as possible.
Does a local pizza count?
Absolutely.
You're supporting your local economy, and it all goes back to the farm. No farm, no food, right? But honestly, that is a component that we are very proud of on the Women in Ag team, that we do try to use our conferences as a way to highlight the local foods grown in whatever region we have the conference in. And we've done that from day one, and it's been well received by the participants that attend our conference. The food has always been excellent. The conference centers that we've used have prepared the food really well and been easy to work with. And I think that the local producers appreciate Extension Service taking an interest and investing in their products and highlighting those at the conference. And that's also created a little bit of business for them too. If you get introduced to somebody's food across the state, and they have a website and they can order that food. So it's encouraging more of those connections and partnerships that weren't previously there with the agribusinesses that we have in our state.
Yeah, we really try to practice what we preach too.
Yeah. And it's been delicious. I mean, yeah, as JJ hit the nail on the head right there, that is going to be missed too, having that delicious local food provided. And usually these conferences are held at a nice resort, and the chefs are usually gourmet chefs, so they know how to make it tasty. So we're just going to have to, like Stacy said, challenge those participants at home to make something pretty tasty from the locally grown products they have in their kitchen or in their backyard or their garden, or high tunnels. Let's not forget those. We've got a lot of those in West Virginia that are
Randy,
still
maybe
producing.
we'll have people show off what they made for dinner or something.
I like that. That's
and put in the little chat box how local it is and all that stuff.
I wasn't thinking about missing the food until JJ mentioned it. So thank you, JJ.
Thanks, JJ.
You suddenly made me hungry.
Well, I haven't really had my breakfast yet, so thinking about local eggs and bacon. Maybe as far as the tracks do you have any? You say you've got horticulture, livestock, and what was your other track?
Finance and marketing. So that's in line with what we normally do in person. Normally we have about 4 sessions in a day. One of those is a local producer, usually speaking on their farm and giving personal experiences, and others might be a little bit more tailored from local specialists or some of our own people within the state. But usually our participants have to pick one or the other. So with the virtual option, we elected to kind of pare down the schedule a little bit, and everybody will have the chance to attend all sessions. And that's kind of a critique we hear year after year with the in-person. People want to be in two places at once. So we decided to take advantage of the opportunity to make that possible so they can attend all of the livestock and all of the horticulture we offer, and they don't have to pick and choose. And we still are being careful to make sure we our speakers in each of those sessions is still a local producer that will talk about their farm and their experiences. And that's something that I think people really appreciate, is being able to hear it firsthand from someone else.
JJ, if you want real quick, I'll tell you the topics just so folks know.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So the keynote, as y'all already talked about, is adapting your marketing strategy to meet your farm and family goals. Pretty important. When we get it into Tuesday, we're looking at changing the grazing mentality, learning to treat pasture as a crop, which we all know that sometimes pasture is just pasture, right? But if we treat it special and treat it like a crop, like it is, you can change a lot of things. And that's going to be Ben Goff from WVU Extension. Our producer that evening will be Lauren Perkins from Perk Farm Organic Dairy in Frankfort, West Virginia. So again, like Emily said, learning from one of our own. And then we've, is this the same day? We move into hot legal issues, because hot topics, right? So that'll be issues in direct marketing and agritourism. And that's with our Jesse Richardson with the WVU College of Law. And if you guys get a chance, definitely tune into that one, because Jesse is a wealth of knowledge. Wednesday, we move into year-round crop production for profit with Dr. Lewis Jett. And we have also working with nature, IPM for small-scale vegetable growers. So that hits a lot of people. I mean, that's going to be very impactful for a lot of people there. Our producer session for horticulture is Jennifer Gilkerson. I think Jennifer was on here a couple weeks ago, wasn't she? Maybe. So Jennifer is with Sunset Berry Farm. Yeah, she was on here a couple weeks ago, right? CJ? Yeah, for agritourism. And so she was awesome. So she'll be a great speaker, and she's wonderful to learn from. And I think I got them all.
Well, on the first day after the keynote speaker, we had Ladina Teets from Snowy Creek, Dorsets. They have a sheep operation up in Aurora, West Virginia, and Lisa Stickler and her husband, they own Stickler Farm down in Motesville, West Virginia. And then of course Deasing Knights, our extension specialist with agriculture economics, and those folks are going to be helping us look at adapting the marketing strategies to meet the farm and family goals, as well as the keynote on that first night, correct?
You're right, Brandy. Thank you. Sorry about that. I kind of skipped.
No.
I combined three things all into one sentence. I'm sorry.
And
then also too, like you said with the tours, I think Emily had mentioned that. So we have these virtual tours, right? Which is really cool, because you get to see some farms that most people would not be able to get to see on a regular basis. So we're going to see some really cool farming operations, and we'll have some question and answer sessions with them as well. So yeah, it's virtual, but daggone, the opportunities that are there to be able to talk to some of these folks and share and get some information is wonderful.
That's what we're all about, is opportunity.
And at the farm tours from 3 to 5, those are farms that were highlighted by the Northeast SARE program for their sustainable practices. So that, I mean, it's not just picking farmers because they have cool enterprises going on. It's picking those farmers that are doing things the right way, and innovative and sustainable practices that we want other producers to see, and hopefully get some ideas from, learn, grow their operation, and just help strengthen the agriculture community in West Virginia and the surrounding states, of course.
Well, I think that a cool enterprise has to be at least a small factor, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, we want it to be cool for sure. And hey, if it's cool and they're making money, we want to talk to them in West Virginia and Extension, right?
Yeah, and I think that a lot of times, an enterprise, no matter if it's small fruits or an orchard or small ruminants, sheep and goats, if it's something that you can make money and that you enjoy doing, well, that's the best of both worlds for farming. Definitely.
Yeah. That's a win. And you made me think of something you enjoy and you're making money. A lot of the Annie's Project participants or the people that come to the Women in Ag conference, this might be their exploration into what enterprise interests them. They're new farmers. They're looking to come back to the farm and try something that's going to appeal to them. Maybe they grew up on the farm, or they went to their grandparents' farm over the summer and they really like the lifestyle, but they've got a lot to learn as far as the input cost and the production requirements of that specific of a where they can gain some information and learn what works for them, what doesn't work for them before they go into the production, and then have meet with failures or financial disappointments and losses, and hopefully that's not just hopefully, we know that we've seen lots of success come out of the folks that participate with us in the Women in Ag conference or Annie's Project as a result of just thinking things through before they get started.
Yeah, and our participants come from all walks of experience. We have very large operations, we have really small operations, we have people that haven't even started yet. And the conference just provides them kind of a safe space to ask questions. You don't feel like you're being judged. You learn from each other, and it's just a really positive atmosphere to build everybody up, support each other.
Yeah, and I guess this is the question for all three of you. I know that we were talking about transitioning the farm, trying to attract some younger people into agriculture. You feel that the Annie's Project or the conference are attracting some younger folks to try to get them started in agriculture?
I think so, yeah. And we do a good partnership with the Davis College too. And over the past couple of times we've had the conference, they've sent their students down. So their female students have gotten to come to the conference and attend the sessions, see the atmosphere. And I know that they've indicated they really enjoy that too. And we have all ages. I mean, we're not doesn't look stereotypically like everybody's over 60. I mean, we have college students, we have sometimes we have high school students that are able to attend too. We have women in their 20s, 30s, 40s. So, and everybody's just there for a common good and a common goal. So yeah, I think it does a good job. And even some of our people that might be a little older, they might be newer producers. So there's not really a good stereotype to say it's only these types of people. It's all types of producers that attend.
You have a good mix, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Emily,
and sometimes the husbands.
Yeah, you just reminded me, Emily, we have had youth track on, we usually have 4 tracks in person, and that youth track involves even the FFA kids across the state. I've had many come from my county to the conference and get a lot of good information, ideas out of that. So we're definitely going to reach out to the classes to attend our virtual option since it's after school hours, or maybe have some discussions in class after the fact at least.
Okay, I think that we've reached that part of the program. We're getting towards the end. Do you have anything that Stacy or Emily, do you have anything to add about the conference? Some details maybe our folks may be interested in.
Stacy, you're muted. Are you trying to kick that up to me?
No, I was going to say free t-shirt for the first 100 people, Don't
Free
forget your
t-shirt, free
free.
t-shirt.
Yeah, if you register within the first 100 people, which we're getting kind of close to that. So hurry
I
up and
think we
register.
are. I'm gonna pop the link to register in the chat.
Oh, good idea.
Absolutely. That's a great idea. And
Brandy, hey, you're breaking up. Maybe stop your.
and that is one other nice thing that we usually have at the conference. It isn't just a free t-shirt. This is the first time we've done the free t-shirt, but our go-to.
Oh,
No?
I think that
Can
we're
you hear me?
Oh, Brandy, we
Okay,
lost
well,
ya.
I was just going to talk about our knives and how those are nice memorabilia that we send home as a token.
Brandy
I was
also reminds me that if you
Can you
have
hear me
internet
now?
connectivity issues,
This is
contact your
gonna-
local county office for a viewing site.
oh, okay. Emily, you have anything to add?
No, but just hope to see people tuning into this to attend the conference. No matter what type of producer you are, young, old, new, experienced, there's always something to take away from it.
Stacy?
No, I'm glad that Emily said something about the internet thing though. So I've got a few folks here that have crappy internet at home. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna arrange for the extension office like a viewing party. So I'm gonna have popcorn. It's gonna be fun. So you can still attend the conference if you have crappy internet or whatever. Just get a hold of your extension agent, and we'll try to hook you up with some way to watch it like with better internet. So
Yes. As we finish up here, you know that there are two types of music, country and Western. So I'll start with Emily. Emily, who is your favorite country artist?
I'm gonna have to go Garth Brooks.
Garth Brooks. He has been
Yeah.
popular. Is there a favorite Garth Brooks tune that you have? Like Friends in Low Places comes to mind, maybe?
No, I'm probably gonna have to go. I'm probably gonna butcher the title of the song, the rodeo one. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's called Rodeo, I believe.
Okay, I'm glad I got that right.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking too of the one about the Thunder Rolls. That was a
Oh,
big
that's a
hit.
good one too.
Stacy?
ironically, I'm gonna say Garth Brooks. He was my first, like back in the day, he was my first
Crush.
singer crush kind of guy. And I'm gonna have to go with the song "The Dance" because I'll never forget. You know, in high school, I was going with this guy, and you know, this song comes on, and I knew everything about love. It was awesome when I knew everything back in the day. Yeah,
I remember.
I used to know everything, and so Garth was the
Yes.
man.
Wish I
Garth
still
Brooks.
knew as much as I knew back then.
Brandy? Can she? Maybe she's.
Oh, my internet.
Why don't you type it in the chat for us? Why don't you type it in the chat for us, and that way we can.
Hey, let's all take a guess before she unfreezes. Let's take a guess.
I'm gonna say she's gonna say George Strait.
Ooh.
I think
Randy
Dolly
Travis.
Oh,
Ooh, Dolly Parton's a good one too.
Randy Travis. Yeah.
Randy Travis. I don't think we've hit Randy Travis here lately. So no, I'm just more thinking. Yeah, I don't know. I was gonna say Kenny Rogers.
What's
think
wrong
so.
with Kenny Rogers?
Well, I like Kenny Rogers, but you know, we lost him there to COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Just one more thing. I just always have to announce that the programs and activities offered by West Virginia University Extension are available to all persons without regard to race, color, sex, disability, religion, age, veteran status, political beliefs, sexual orientation, national origin, and marital or family status. I want to thank everyone that tuned in today. Evan, you have anything to add?
I think y'all asked the questions I was looking for, like the opportunities, success stories, that kind of stuff. And that way it really hits home for people. That's all I have for today. And I don't know if we have any comments out of the chat box, but hopefully those that did participate in the Zoom, they'll register for the conference here in a couple minutes, all right, when we get ended, and we'll see them here in a couple weeks.
Brandy said Martina McBride is her.
Oh,
Ooh,
We haven't had Martina.
little
McBride.
Martina.
Yeah. So she actually has a great Christmas album. If you ever get that, Martina McBride.
huh.
Well, I want to thank Brandy, Emily, and Stacy for being on Mountaineer Farm Talk today. Also wanted to announce next week we are having the president of Hammond's Black Walnuts is going to be on the program from out in Missouri. So that we've kind of hit towards the end of the harvesting for black walnuts here across the Midwest. Of course, a nice native deciduous tree here in West Virginia.
What's he going to be talking about?
Hammond's is one of the only companies that actually they have over 200 collection stations across the Midwest, and they the black walnuts are brought in, and then these are hauling stations, and then they haul them back to their main processing plant.
I'm really excited about this one because I want to ask him, because we have the West Virginia Black Walnut Festival here in Spencer, and one of the big questions we get is where do we take our walnuts to be hauled? And that's just Hammond's used to have a bunch of hauling stations, but the quality of black walnuts decreased over the years to the point they moved out of West Virginia, and the closest ones to the Mid-Ohio Valley where we're at is Ohio. And I think our nut quality in the black walnuts are coming back. I think we've we've seen better quality over the past few years, and I think I'd like to push for him to get a hauling station back in the state. I think he'd find a lot of usable product for our landowners and farmers.
Yeah, Brandy, I get a lot of clients that call the office. I send them to Integration Acres. It's right over near Athens, Ohio. And I think some of these hauling stations too will work if we can get a producer to kind of cooperate with Hammond's Walnuts. That because I know Chris over there at Integration Acres, and if we could get a couple farms that would like to cooperate, that because I'm sure that it's kind of a time-consuming thing for them to have to take in the walnuts, and then they've got to coordinate back with Hammond. So it should be an interesting conversation for sure.
Absolutely, looking forward to it.
So, Evan, I guess we'll sign off. Thank everyone thank everyone for tuning in to Mountaineer Farm Talk, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for having us.
Guys.
Thanks.
See ya.
Thank you.